Hello, everyone. Good evening, America, and good morning, Australia. You're listening to Toni Lontis live on Radio Toni. We have a jam-packed show today, so just a quick intro because we are talking to three wonderful guests today, the first of which will be Donna, who I'll introduce to you shortly, followed by Kerry and Yogita. But firstly, a quick word from my sponsors. So Kerry Hort Rowe is the brain behind brain thinking. She's a business motivator who believes that there is nothing better than a fresh set of eyes to have a look through your business and see how it's working. She's also a profiler, and she has a HBDI map that processes the way that you think, and later in the show we'll be talking to Carrie just about that, and we'll let you know what HBDI stands for. She's also a speaker, a strong independent woman who has been on her journey for many, many years. She uses her story of her own tragedies and triumphs to inspire people and motivate them. And my second sponsor for today is the wonderful Tracy Tully. And Tracy Tully is a speaker, mentor and author in mastering fear, building courage and resilience by unlocking the power of your voice. She shows you how to unlock your voice, amplify your presence and build courage and strength in resilience. And we won't be talking to Tracy today, but we will be talking to her next week, but I'll be giving you a little bit more information about Tracy, and of course we'll be talking live to Kerry later in the show. So before we get into the show, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our first guest today. Our first guest today is Donna-Leigh Perfect. Donna-Leigh is a survivor of childhood domestic violence and trauma. She spent a large part of her teenage years living with a schizophrenic, alcoholic murderer. As a lifeline suicide prevention counsellor and expert on resilience, Donna-Leigh is passionate about building resilience, curbing domestic violence and bullying in our community. These passionate backbones of her were inspired her to develop the Dream Guards Tour of Resilience, the Perfect Peace Program and the Dream Guards Ambassador Program in hundreds of schools across Australia. She is the winner of the 2018 International Women's Day Leadership Ambassador Award in Social Justice and Equality, and recent author of the children's books, The Adventures of Jessie and the Rockstar children's series. And we will be talking to Donna-Leigh after a tiny break in a moment. She speaks in schools and corporate charity events across the world, and most recently shared her inspirational story on the inaugural Her Story Women's Global Empowerment Conference in Las Vegas. So we will be talking to Donna shortly. And yes, Willow, I did say a murderer. And yes, Donna's responding. She definitely did live with a murderer, and we'll talk briefly about that when we talk to Donna in a minute. Zara wants to know, do we all have a voice? Well, Zara, I absolutely believe passionately that we all have a voice. It's just a matter of learning how to use it. And my friend Tracy can help you with that. And also, many of the other guests that we have on our show have speak professionally all over the world, and they too believe that everyone has a voice, and just learning how to use it is the most important start in the step. So we are actually going to pop on to a tiny break, and when we come back, I'm going to introduce you to the amazing Donna-Leigh Perfect to tell her story. Over to you, Rebel.
Radio Toni, bringing social consciousness, this time every Thursday evening, live from the Gold Coast, Australia, on W4WN. Radio Toni, with Toni Lontis, author of Resilience, Memoir of a Broken Little Girl, discovering a woman of strength and beauty. Available now on Amazon.com and in all good bookstores.
And welcome back to Radio Toni. You're live with your host, Toni Lontis, and we have our first guest today, Donna-Leigh. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for, again, another opportunity with you, Toni. I really, truly appreciate it.
So the plan for this morning was we really wanted to talk about your children's books, but I'm just wondering if you might answer our listeners' questions and just give a brief overview of your traumatic childhood.
Okay, so my trauma started when I was 7 years old, waking to the piercing screams of my mum, and jumping out of bed, I tiptoed to the corridor and saw a look on my mum's face I'll never forget. It was a look of total terror as I watched my father chase her down the staircase with a knife. And as she reached for the sliding door to try and escape, I witnessed my father drive the knife deep into her back. She stumbled along the side path to the front of the house and collapsed to the ground. And it was the most devastating moment of my life to witness that as a 7-year-old. And within a few moments, there were crowds of people and sirens around, and I watched my father drive off in the back of a police car. And within a few days, we were all separated, my twin brother, my older brothers and sister, and we were put into foster homes. And I went to 13 foster homes and 13 schools. And this time in foster homes was incredibly traumatic. I was abused and I was bullied in schools, and suffering with trauma, suffering with separation, and then, ongoing trauma and ongoing abuse and bullying was extremely difficult childhood for me. But Toni, I just have a really fond memory of the first foster home that I was at, and it was the only happy foster home out of the 13. Was this Catholic mother. She was a single mum of 2 young daughters, and I was incredibly traumatized when I arrived at this home. It was immediately after the murder of my mum.
And you were 7, weren't you, Donna?
I was 7. I was 7 years old. And I remember this mum. She used to read stories to me in bed at night, and these were really precious moments. These stories enabled me to escape the reality of my trauma for a few moments and into the story. And it just gave me a respite, it gave me this moment of peace in my life. And, that was the happy kind of one happy moment, really, in the 13 foster homes.
So, Donna, a number of questions coming in. Leo, no, Donna's father did not care. He was an alcoholic schizophrenic and subsequently went to jail, which is the reason why Donna and her siblings were put into foster care in so many homes. And Donna, just briefly, there was a moment when you were 12 that was also pretty traumatic for you.
Yes, it was. It was incredibly difficult. When I was 12, I was given a very, very difficult decision to make, and it's a decision that no 12-year-old should ever have had to have made. And that was the social worker came to the house, and he said to me, now this was after 6 years of foster abuse, Donna, You've got 2 choices. You can stay in foster care until you're 18 and free to leave. And to me, that was like, well, just to put up with the suffering and the abuse that I had already received in 6 years, and the constant moving and shifting and instability, or to return to your father, who has been released from prison. But the most difficult part of this was to return back to the home where he murdered my mum. And I can't even begin to imagine that the authorities would even allow that kind of thing to happen.
And just a bit of background for our listeners, for children placed in foster homes, Rarely do they get to stay in one spot with one family for an extended period of time. They are often, for whatever reasons, and there's many reasons, either the foster family can no longer care for them, there's a change in policy, a change in government. There's many, many reasons why children are swapped around multiple foster homes across multiple sites, and that is definitely Donna-Leigh and her family's experience. Yes. Many, many homes, separated from her siblings, and then at 12 being asked to decide to keep going with that tract or go home to her father, to the place where she saw her mother murdered, and live with a schizophrenic alcoholic father. And in Donna's 12-year-old mind, the option of being reunited with her siblings, even though going home was a scary thing, seemed to be the best option for her, when in fact neither were good options for 12-year-old Donna-Leigh.
Yes, exactly. You've got that. So that was my, it was the ultimate for me, was to be reunited with my family, no matter how dysfunctional it was. I mean, being in strange homes with strangers ongoing over and over was incredibly traumatizing. And, I think it was a combination of, we were put together and then we would be separated, then we'd be put together. Yeah. I'm talking about my siblings and my twin and I. And so, it was probably a combination of reasons why we had to move. But we're talking about 40 years ago nearly now. So obviously the system's changed and hopefully improved a little.
Hope the system's changed.
Back then.
I was going to say, and Robin wants to know, did no one help you in foster care? Well, no. Counselling and help that is available today was not readily available back then. This is, a substantial amount of time ago. But, Donna, I'd like to just quickly touch on the help that you did get at around about 17, 18 years of age. Yes,
so I got to a really dark place in my life. I'd dropped out of high school at 16. I was taking some deadbeat jobs, and I actually was fired from my first job. And I realised, I was taking marijuana quite regularly. I was on drinking because my father, that was kind of something that he really encouraged me from a young age. It justified his drinking habit. And so I was in a dark place, and I remember one night reaching out to Lifeline just at my wit's end. And I pretty much offloaded my entire story to the counsellor, the poor woman on the other side. And she was just dumbfounded, and she said, look, I think you really need to come and invest some time into working through your trauma and everything you've been through in your life, and have some face-to-face counselling. And that was the best thing. It was a turning point in my life. And after I'd gone through lots of different treatments, psychologists, hypnotherapy, cognitive behavioural therapy, I became a Lifeline telephone counsellor on the phones in Sydney for 2 years, and with suicide prevention training. And that was an amazing time in my life to be able to help others because of my experiences and give back. So That was yes.
That was the beginning of life getting better for you, wasn't it, Donna?
It was, absolutely. So from then I went on to high school and went back to high school, should I say, and I did an apprenticeship in clothing design and did very well at that. In fact, I got the top trade certificate marks in New Zealand, and I won the Golden Shears Apprentice of the Year award, which just blew me away. It was like I had no self-belief or self-confidence at all. So to think that I could have achieved that sort of thing was just, astounding to me, completely astounding. So, yeah.
Donna Joby wants to know, where did you find this strength? And it is an amazing concept that a 17-year-old found the strength to reach out and start to get the help that you so desperately sought.
Yes, I think there was an awareness that I'm on my own. I am in control and responsible for my own life now. I've got no parents, no grandparents, no one that, is going to rescue me or save me except myself. So it was, I think, resilience is innate in each and every one of us, and we just need to tap into it. We need to believe in ourselves and know that we can overcome any adversity in our lives and live a life of purpose, passion, and flourish. And it's just believing in that process and knowing that we are born born with this. And, we're all born perfectly unique in our own way. So, we just need to tap into that resilience, know that we can overcome it. And that's what I did. I had this determination, and it was just a survival determination that was innate in me, and I believe innate in everyone.
And that your story and your traumatic childhood led you to writing for children and developing programs for children. So right at this moment, Donna is about to launch her first children's books. So did you always think that you wanted to write children's books, or did that just come about organically from your passion to help children, particularly in traumatic situations, experiencing bullying, etc.?
Yes, look, it's certainly an organic thing, and it came about by a challenge that my husband put to me. He had a conversation with his mentor, and his mentor said, "You've got to write a book, Michael, and I'm going to make you accountable, and every week you've got to check in with me and send a chapter to me." And I thought that was a great idea. He turned to me and he said, "How about you, Donna? Are you going to be in on this challenge? Are you going to write a book?" And I thought, yeah. There's a book in me for sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a children's book. And all of a sudden, this kind of idea, I've got to write children's books. I've got to write children's books about my daughter and our rescue dog. And these are going to be stories that are going to leave a life lesson at the end of these stories for children and parents about compassion, about kindness, about treating people and animals with respect and love. Yeah. And but it's Rocky Rockstar teaching Jess a lesson, and they just were channeled to me. It was just the most phenomenal experience, and so this has been the start, and the beautiful synergy of this. When I look back now, I'd say, well, because of that profound experience I had as a 7-year-old being read to. I think this was kind of something in my subconscious that sort of said, well, this is what you need to do first. You need to write stories that will help children heal or help actually connect.
Yes.
Or grandparents or caregivers to their children through a mindful moment of sharing stories. And I believe this is such a valuable thing. I read stories to my beautiful 2 children, and they remember them today. I mean, part of this challenge was actually to read a children's story on a stage community Facebook group, and it was reading a children's book. And after I'd written this first book, my husband came home from a cruise, and I read this first story, Puppy Rescue, to him, and he said, "Oh my God, that's amazing! That is so good." And I said, "Oh, and I've been invited to read a children's story on this online Facebook page, and I've been asking the children what they love, what the favourite story is I read to them when they were children, and they said, 'We're going on a bear hunt.'" And I said, "Yes, I love that story. It was one of my favourites too." And I really get into the character when I read, and I couldn't find this book anywhere, and I knew I had it, but I couldn't find it. And Michael, I said, "I can't find the book," and Michael said, "You're reading your story, aren't you?" And I said, "I hadn't even thought of that." And he said, "Of course you're going to read your story. This story is phenomenal and people need to hear it." So I read this as part of this challenge online on a Facebook challenge as well. And I got so much amazing feedback. In fact, one of my biggest mentors, Vin Giang, he's an international inspirational magician and speaker, and he lives in California. Yeah. And he was so blown away with my reading because of the character and how I throw myself into the characters. He said, "I've got to buy those books as soon as, and they've got to come out on audio. You've got to be reading them." And only just this morning, Toni, after I got off speaking with you, I've had a bulk order from my biggest mentor in the world, from Vin Giang in California. These books are going over there to him. And he actually wrote a review on these books, which are on the back cover. And I'm so proud that he's represented on the back cover of these books. So it's so exciting. But the exciting thing about these books too is that I've decided to support a local charity here on the Gold Coast. Well, it's actually not just the Gold Coast, Australia. Yes. And this charity is Paradise Kids. And Paradise Kids offer an amazing grief and loss program for children in our community. Yeah. And these are kids that are suffering from divorce, from separation, from death, and sadly from parents that are suiciding. Yes. And also parents that are ice addicts and this kind of thing, drug addicts. And so this program is phenomenal, and they don't get much government support or help. Yeah. And anyway, my daughter, in my first marriage breakup, my daughter did this grief and loss program at Paradise Kids, and it had a profound impact on her confidence and her well-being. And she's actually still got the teddy that the children get at the end of the 6-week program. Yeah. She has that sitting next to her bed. And so I decided that that I wanted to support this amazing charity that helped my child. And so what I've done is I have given them a page in the back of the book so they can share their services with the community about what they do. And I've also given them a space on our Dream Guards free app. So they are the 12th life-saving support service on this app. And I've also decided to donate a percentage of the books Puppy Rescue and Tiger to their service, just as a way to give back to them and help them with this amazing grief and loss program, which I wish I had when I was a 7-year-old going through the trauma I was experiencing. So,
which is essentially why you wanted to write the children's books. And let's be clear, you had no experience writing until, when did you start writing the children's books?
I started writing these children's books 13 months ago, and I one Sunday morning when it was pouring down with rain after I'd finished writing it, I rang Ocean Reeve Publishing, who is my publisher, and I read the first story over the phone to him. And he was blown away. He said, well, first of all, not many authors actually get to read their story to me because it's a children's book. It's only 800 words or something. It was achievable. And he said, but the way you read it, Donna, the way you threw yourself in the characters and everything, I was totally transcended into this storyline. And he said, you have to print this. But the thing is, you've got to put 2 out, because if you are going to do this as a series, you need to prove to your audience that this is a series by writing 2 books. So I said, oh, wow, okay, so I've got to write my second book now. So I got straight onto it, and the second book is Tiger. And the reason why it's called Tiger is because we have so many people, kids and adults, coming up to us in the park and at the beach saying to Rocky Rockstar, our rescue dog, wow, Mum, look, it's a tiger. Or someone saying, it's a Tasmanian tiger. And he really does look like his stripes look like a tiger. So that's why that was the influence of the second book, and the start of that. And the amazing thing, just going back to my childhood with the foster homes, after many, many years, the New Zealand government investigated my file. It took 8 years, and I got a tiny bit of compensation money for the abuse I experienced. And I wanted that money to make a significant impact on children's lives moving forward. And so I put that money aside. And it's just phenomenal that the cost of these 2 children's books have completely, been exactly the same amount of money that I got compensated for. So the synergy is just phenomenal. So it's all the cycle of life has come back with supporting Paradise Kids, with, this money, and being able to publish these books and get a good message out there about how we should be rescuing animals more. And, so...
And the synergy between animals and healing, particularly after trauma, is significant to note as well. Yeah. And so the books are in pre-release now. And for our listeners, I've actually put up a number of links for Donna. So I put up where you can buy the wonderful children's books from. They're in pre-release, which means they're getting ready to be published. Yes. I've also put up a link for Donna on YouTube, and some links to the other things that she's involved with. But just quickly, the
pre-sale's amazing, actually, because what you get, it's only for another 9 days, I believe, the pre-sale. So what you get is the if you buy the bundle, it's the puppy rescue and the tiger book. signed by myself, Jessie, and a footprint by Rocky Rockstar. You get a photograph of Rocky Rockstar and Jess, which is signed. You get a bookmark, a Rocky Rockstar bookmark. You get a Dream Guards Peace wristband, which is part of the Dream Guards program that we run in schools. You also get a Smarty bag, activity bag, which is a really cool bag full of things for children, like mindful activities, colouring in, join the dots, all this kind of stuff. And then you also get the animated videos. Now, these are amazing. So this is me rating the books in animated form. So this is all just during the pre-sale. This is the package that you get when you buy now in the next few days. And so you want to
jump onto that link, which starts in the chat box. It starts with shop, and it's on Donna-Leigh's website, which is Donna-Leigh, Leigh, perfect.com/shop/. And that's where you can get this pre-release deal. What a great Christmas idea to give the children in your life, the grandkids, an amazing package, especially put forward for pre-release of your books. Now, I have a question from Missy, and please feel free. There you go. Missy, Donna's answered your question. Reach out to Ocean Reeve Publishing. They're on the Gold Coast in Australia. And if you're an American listening to this program, you do realise that doing things in Australia or purchasing things in Australian dollars gives you almost two bangs for your buck, so to speak. And so that's a great thing for our US listeners. Just quickly, Donna, before we run out of time, I really would like to talk about the Dream Guards apps and some of the children's programs that you run across Australia.
Oh, thank you. So the Dream Guards, we inspire self-belief, build resilience in children and adults, and we empower them with our unique peace tools to stand up to bullying and abuse in their lives, because we need to really curb childhood, anxiety, depression, eating
and suicide
from bullying, and of course domestic violence. We're losing one woman a week to domestic violence in Australia. That is not okay. So we've developed this Dream Guards app, and it has 12 life-saving support services on it. So Lifeline, Kids Helpline, Headspace, a DV 1-800 number. It's got e-safety commissioner if you're getting bullied online, and then there's Paradise Kids and a number of other services on there. So what you do is you click on the link, you can reach out. They go directly to any one of those services websites where you can download further information. We also have meditations and visualizations on this app that Michael Bennett and I have narrated ourselves. So it's an opportunity for you to listen to a 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute meditation or visualization before an exam, before a business meeting or a job interview, and relax and just, chill out a bit. Then we also have the Rocky Rockstar. Now, I'm reading famous children's stories on this app, and there's also, it's connected to the YouTube channel, so Reading Stories with Rocky Rockstar. So it's our rescue dog sitting on the couch with me while I'm reading stories. So
how amazing.
Schools are listening to this now in class. The children are listening to these stories and loving Rocky Rockstar. So it's really fantastic. So we go into schools all over Australia, and we have a Perfect Peace program, which is aligned to the Australian curriculum, and it reinforces all the messages we share in our live stage Dream Guards show. In classroom activities, and we have the Dream Guard Ambassador program, empowering kids to find solutions to their own problems and building resilience, connecting Australia through the Ambassador program. So, get on the dreamguards.com.au website, and if you've got a school, if you're a teacher, if you're a principal, if you're a parent, reach out to your school or your principal and get the Dream Guards in there. And if you're a business, we do keynote presentations, and Michael Bennett and I speak on stages all around the world.
And you do enjoy speaking in the corporate environment to adults as well as children, because these skills are most helpful to children but also equally helpful for adults.
Well, yes,
correct, Donna?
$45 billion a year in Australia is spent on the serious side effects of bullying in the workplace. So it's a massive, massive situation. And what we do with our keynotes is very, very unique. We weave magic, inspirational messages, story showing, sometimes even balloon artistry with keynotes and on stages. So it's not like any keynote you've ever seen before. It's not like somebody standing up doing a lecture with a PowerPoint, I'll tell you that much.
And I can vouch for Donna's power on stage. Just 2 quick questions from Charles and Jasmine. If they go to your site to purchase the books, do you have PayPal?
Yes, we have PayPal, we have credit card, so and I believe direct deposit as well. So you can choose any one of those, and you'll get
it will be
deal.
For those in the US, it will be directly converted to Australian dollars. So you just have to click on the button, correct?
That's right. Yes, that's right. Through PayPal, that does all that automatically.
That'll automatically do that for you, Jasmine. So jump onto that site and grab those pre-release packages. Again, particularly wonderful package in pre-release, because once pre-release ends in 8 days, it will just be the books from then on. Correct, Donna?
That's right, and the books will go up a little bit as well. So there's a special discounted price right now. So the books are $17.95 or $34.90, I believe. For
Australian dollars.
Yes, that's right. So what an amazing Christmas present.
Quite a bargain for our US listeners.
Absolutely.
The books, I think, are going to be a resounding success, as are all your initiatives for training, helping children and parents. Before we run out of time, I would really like to just mention your work with the Global Gratitude Chain. Before I do that, Jasmine, are the packages up on the site someplace?
Yes, they sure are. Here's my website. You can go on there and that's where they'll be. So jump on there and you can purchase them there. Thank you, Jasmine.
Up in the top of the chat box, right up the top, one of the first things I put up was, and it looks like shop Donna-Lei. That's the link to the books, just so you know. So sorry, Donna, back to your work.
So the Global Gratitude Chain, this has been a phenomenal, kind of experience. So I had a family reach out to me one night very late, 11:30. A father reached out to me because his daughter was being bullied, year 9, a 14-year-old girl, and she was suicidal. And he was absolutely beside himself. So I offered to go to the family's home the next day, and I brought some resources with me. And one of the resources was From Bullied to Brilliant, an amazing resource book that we use as part of our Perfect Peace program. And it's a book by Karen Clark, a friend of ours, and a phenomenal book. And I took that along with some amazing, inspiring messages, printouts that she could put on her mirror, this young girl, and look at and read in the mornings when she wakes up and goes to school. And I shared my story. And the story really, really was, I think, the anchor for the family and for herself. She was completely moved and with what I was doing. Within 3 weeks, we had a community event, Dream Guards Showcase in the community, and she offered to volunteer her time at the showcase event. And one of the activities at the showcase event was I wanted people to write down something they were grateful for in their life on a piece of paper. And at that event, Leanna, this is a beautiful girl that was being bullied. She created the chain with these links that people had written. And this became the start of the Global Gratitude Chain movement. I've been receiving these links from all over the world, from Brazil, Hong Kong, Singapore, America, Ireland, Germany, New Zealand, Australia. They're coming in from everywhere. Schools, the local school here, Varsity College, 3,000 students have come on board. So what we've done is we're applying for a Guinness World Record. That is the longest gratitude chain in the world. And
so listeners, if you want to be part of a Guinness World Record attempt,
that's right.
Click on the link that I put up to Donna's Global Gratitude Chain Facebook page and get on board. Sorry, Donna, go ahead.
Get on board this Global Gratitude Chain, which is lifting the vibrational energy of our world through a mindful moment of gratitude. And it is phenomenal. I mean, my husband is collecting links on cruise ships all around the world, and he's making these beautiful videos of people that are writing and children and adults and the profound shares of gratitude. People saying that they are grateful families have escaped the Bosnian War and survived. People that are grateful that they have escaped, survived suicide attempts. And then children that are, grateful for an orange or a roof over their head. It's just absolutely beautiful. So,
and Donna, what about the little blind boy?
Oh, that was this was the cruise that Michael was just on the Ovation of the Seas. And I was moved to tears at this video. If you get a chance to get on the Global Gratitude Chain Facebook page and have a look at the last video my husband put up, and there's a little blind boy, and the parents put the dots on the gratitude chain link so he could fill in around the dots and write I am grateful for and what he wanted to write. Oh my gosh, I was absolutely tearing up with that. It was just so beautiful. And the lovely volunteer that was collecting links from people on the cruise ship, stopping people and going, you've got to write a link, because she so believed in it. And this lady had recently lost her son in a car accident, and she was really in tune with how important practicing gratitude is to our mental health each and every day. It's phenomenal how it can improve our mental health. In fact,
so Donna, let's tell our listeners your plans for this global gratitude chain.
So apart from being a Guinness World Record, and we need 5 football fields for that Guinness World Record, and we're halfway there. We have 2.5 football fields. We need 2.5 more football fields. We've got gratitude angels all around the world that are collecting links on trains and buses and schools and cafes. So if you want to be part of that, we'd love you to get on board. But you need to send your link, which is 6 centimetres by 21 centimetres, to me, Donna-Leigh with a hyphen, Leigh Perfect, P.O. Box 70, Varsity Lakes, Queensland 4227, Australia, and your link will be laminated and it will be connected onto the Global Gratitude Chain. And this Global Gratitude Chain is going to be going on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. That is the vision. So if you know anyone that knows Ellen DeGeneres, if you know Ellen DeGeneres, then please
someone who knows Ellen DeGeneres.
Absolutely. Reach out to me, because we are going to get this Global Gratitude Chain on her show, and I see it flowing from the car park into the studio, and it's going to be draping on people in the audience, connecting the world through a mindful moment of gratitude as it flows up onto the stage to Ellen DeGeneres. So this is the vision. It's going to happen, and anybody that wants to be in that audience, well, let's make it happen. Let's make this happen.
Donna, let's just do that address again. It's Donna-Leigh Perfect, P.O. Box
70, Varsity Lakes.
70?
Yes.
I'm just typing this on the screen as you say it.
Thank you. Varsity Lakes.
Varsity Lakes. Queensland, Australia.
And that's 4227, Queensland 4227.
4227. Okay, guys, that's up. So it's to do a link is really simple. It's a piece of paper, 6 centimetres or 2 1/4 inches in the imperial scale by 21 centimetres, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, 6.5 inches long.
Look, I don't.
Thereabouts.
Sorry, I have no idea. Mary Beth, you can probably help. I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's fine. The details are on the Facebook link that we've just put up. You write just what you're grateful for. Yes. Send them off to Donna, and she will laminate them and add them to the Global Gratitude Chain. And then she will continue her campaign to get on the Ellen DeGeneres Show.
Absolutely. And I'm in Vegas in March 2020. So perhaps that could be the date. I'm speaking at an anti-slavery conference. And so this is where I believe this is all going to happen with Ellen DeGeneres.
I agree. So, Donna, I'm so sorry, but we are out of time this morning and we have to pop on for a quick break. But thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with our listeners this morning. Listeners, I'm going to go to a break and put up some more links in the break. Jump onto Donna's site and grab those books in pre-release for great Christmas presents for the children and grandchildren. Thank you so much, Donna-Leigh, for talking on Radio Tony today. Over to you, Rebel. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Radio Tony. We have our next guest, and I'm so delighted to introduce you all to Kerry Hort Rowe, the brain behind brain thinking. How are you, Kerry?
Good morning, Toni. I'm fantastic. It's a beautiful, cool morning here in Western Australia, and I'm very happy to be on your show.
Thank you so much for spending time this morning to come on my show. Just for our listeners, Western Australia, where Kerry is about 6.5 hours flight on the western side of Australia. Radio Tony is broadcast from the eastern side of Australia on the Gold Coast. So Kerry, it's quite early in the morning for Kerry, so I'm very appreciative of her time today. So Kerry, I promised the listeners that we would talk about brain thinking and what HBDI was. So before we do that, do you want to tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Okay, a little bit about myself is that I'm one of these very lucky children that grew up in an amazing, loving family home. Went to school, high school, did an apprenticeship in hairdressing. I actually wanted to be a mechanic, but back in the late 80s, no one would look at a female mechanic, so I went hairdressing. So it was sort of, in the family. So from there, met an amazing man at college. He used to drop off his younger brothers, and years later we got together. So he was my college sweetheart, and over the years we raised 4 beautiful children. But unfortunately in 2003 he passed away from leukemia and left me with 4 children. So I had to fight the government a bit and Centrelink and a few other things, and unfortunately we didn't have life insurance. The company we were with went under, and we had to back then there was no mobile phones or anything else. So I did it all the old-fashioned way by letting your fingers do the walking on the yellow pages. But in the meantime, he was diagnosed with leukemia. Of course, no one would touch us. So when he died, it left me with massive bills. We had units and cars and property. And so I had to sell it all and start again. And I did. At 41, I was a widow with 4 children. And the eldest was turned 20 in between his death and funeral. Then the next one turned 15 just after his funeral. And then the 2 girls turned 18 and 13 just the month later. So it was pretty hard going from there. So anyway, we slowly moved on. I was with a company and they were absolutely amazing, but the money wasn't enough because we had lost our main income. So from there we slowly moved on. I rebuilt because my late husband was a builder. And so from there I built a home. We moved in. My youngest was now 20. She went to do something one day and never made it to the modelling shoot where she was off to, and had a car accident and broke her neck. So we started all over again with our family. And so from that we have become a very, very strong family. And listening to Donna's story, and when I get up and speak, is that we all go through something. Some is major, some is small, some, whatever it is, it's big to that person. And what we go through, it's how we actually come out the other end.
It is.
that's something that I really want to do because it's our choice. We can grab hold of all sorts of things and people to help us get there, but we have to actually make the conscious decision to actually move ahead. So from there, I built the house. My daughter ended up being fine. They now teach her, the specialist teaches her particular operation around the world because it was the first of all constructs, the strongest of all constructs in her neck, because she dislocated C1, smashed C2, C3, and dislocated C4. That is automatically normally a hangman's break, which is you are dead or you're a quadriplegic.
Wow.
And she wasn't neither. So they had to move really quickly. So we were very lucky. We had one of the world's leading surgeons here at the time who had just moved to Perth 2 or 3 weeks prior. So we were very lucky. So she's now walking, talking, able-bodied person. It took her 5 years to get over that operation, over that accident, but now we're great. So now what we moved to is that I ended up meeting a lovely man, and I remarried 4 years ago next month. And awesome. I have 4 beautiful children and I have 8 gorgeous grandchildren. And at the time I had 5 grandkids, and that walked me from the house to Poppy. So from there, we had that, which was really, really lovely. So from there, we moved on. While I was working, I can hear someone typing.
I can hear typing too.
I can hear someone typing. So from there, what we did is that the year after my husband died, the company I was working with put all of us through a HBDI profile. And we all thought, oh, yeah, what's this? Is this something that's going to, help our performance, or it's going to measure us? And it was really different. And it actually changed how I thought, how I manage things. It helped me take out the emotional side of my decision-making. It was one of the best tools that I have ever used, and it totally changed my life to 5 years ago when, after Tara had her car accident 7 years ago, I started a new job because I needed to be at home more with her. Yes. And so with working in this position, I built up this business for this lady. Then it came to is that, okay, what am I going to do now? And everyone said, you need to get out speaking and you need to be doing this brain thinking. So I became a HBDI practitioner. And from there, we developed brain thinking. Why we called it brain thinking is our brain never stops thinking. No. And especially women. So a little scenario. All of you're in bed late at night. The husband gets up, goes to the loo, comes back, lays down. Within seconds, he's back snoring again, correct?
Correct.
We get up. On the way to the loo, we are all thinking, oh, now what do we have to do tomorrow? I've got to do this. Have I done that? Have I made sure this is done? We do that all the way back. We get into bed, and the next thing you know, we're getting angry at him because he's already asleep and we can't sleep. So that's a small scenario, but when we understand why we are the way we are, it makes a big difference, because men actually have an ability to actually stop thinking and keep breathing. Women don't.
Amazing.
Yeah. So with the HBDI stands for Herman, Brain, Dominance, Instrument. So Herman developed this back in the 60s, and him and 2 other neuroscientists worked out, and this is where we worked out our limbic area and our cerebral area part of our brains, as to why we think the way we do, which parts of is instinct. So instinct part is that it's just naturally born to us. So when you sneeze, you put your head down and close your eyes, and you cannot sneeze without doing that. You'll naturally do it. If something happens, it's fight or flight. We have that naturally instinct. So from there, they developed this beautiful metaphor. So with the brain, obviously about the brain, the dominance, they discovered that the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body and vice versa. And that's how we know a lot of things about strokes today because of these, which is absolutely fantastic. So in this, then you've got the dominant side of it, and then it's an instrument. So this is a metaphor that they came up and realised that there is actually only 4 thinking styles that we have, and it's come from us from when we're children. So as we grow older, we develop our thinking. We know roughly how we think and where we go and what we're doing. But it's when we're under pressure that it is really important. Because when we're under pressure, that's when we tend to make our mistakes. And we'll often go, oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. Why did I do this? I actually helped to alleviate that, and I proved it with going through what I had to do. So I became a practitioner, and it's been one of the best things that I have used. It's a tool. It's something that anyone and everyone can use. A lot of the corporate companies use it, and they use it in their teams, and it's great for management to understand as to how people think, why they think the way they do, and how they perform things. So if you've got someone that goes for a job and for a sales job, they may, have just gone to it because they needed the job, but they might actually be better analytically in, doing numbers and in the background. Yeah. But they haven't told anyone because they needed the sales job or they needed a job. Yeah. So this is where we go in later into the companies. And we do these profiles, and then they have a look and go, okay, let's restructure so that you actually have the company working as a whole brain. So you've got your analytical side, you've got your organised side, you've got your feeling side, and you've got your creative side. We all dabble a little bit in each of them, but some of us are way stronger in all of these.
Before we go into each of the individual styles, I've got some questions coming in, and I thought we might just digress a bit and answer those. So Harper wants to know, why do you take the emotions out of this tool?
When we tend to go buying, sometimes we will tend to buy something on the emotional side of things, and then we get home and later we realise that really wasn't a good decision.
So like shopping when you're hungry, grocery shopping when you're hungry.
Exactly. You should always eat before you go shopping, then you will never buy half the things that you're doing. When you're in business, when it comes to making that decision, a lot of decisions are made emotionally, especially women. Yes. But when it's a decision that it has to be made analytically, I help teach you how to do that. So you can take the emotional side out of it and make a rational, informed decision and know it's a great decision to do. So small businesses who are a sole trader or has 2 or 3 people often think, oh, I can't do this because that's a corporate thing. No, because you need to, because when it comes to a small business, they can't afford to make mistakes.
Correct.
Yeah. And this something that's, it's great.
So Zap wants to know, how do people become this type of practitioner?
Oh, I can lead you to that you can actually become a practitioner. Absolutely. There is a lot of people that companies will send off and they will become a practitioner for their company, and they will do it there. Herman International, who I'm affiliated with, they will do it for you.
Can you teach practitioners, Kerry?
I can't, no, because I'm not a trainer for that. I can I can help do you, as in that. I have a link on my website. When you go onto my website, www.brainthinking.com.au, in there is a strengths that you go in and you'll answer a questionnaire. Then it will come back and then you'll answer another questionnaire, and within 48 hours or so, I will get back to you, and that will give you a mini profile. It's valued at $100. You get that for free. I send you a couple of little things. it's only a snapshot. It's only about a tenth of what a profile will do for you. Mm-hmm. So it's only a small amount.
And it's about not only helping businesses, but helping you understand how your brain thinks in everyday life.
Absolutely. I had one woman said, oh my goodness, boy, this has made it so much easier that I am actually conversing with my mother-in-law so much easier that I think she's wondering what on earth I've done. So it helps you to actually talk to other people on their thinking style. So when you have had your profile done, you understand the thinking styles, and then when you talk to others, you'll go, okay, they are more analytical or they're very creative. Yeah. And they teach and help you to work out how they are and how they think. Obviously, we can't, when meeting someone, I can't tell where they go under pressure.
Yeah.
That's much deeper. So in the questionnaire that I send a link to help do it, which actually, Toni, I will be doing with you. So you'll be able to let your know.
So listeners, because Kerry is partnered with Radio Toni now, we're going to do some of this work live on air to help you understand how the process works. We thought that would be a fun thing to do to help educate, and I'll be the person that does it, and Kerry will be explaining how that works. Yes. Kerry, before we get, I've got a few more questions from our wonderful listeners. Terry wants to know, this tool was developed back in the 60s. Why is it only coming out now? Well, partially I'll answer that. It's not that it's only coming out now. It's only that it's being... I'm working with you, so you made me aware of it. So we're just letting our listeners know that there are these tools that can help you. And David wants to know, Kerry, are you a doctor?
No, I'm not a doctor. I do have medical people in the family, but just going back slightly, that last question was, what was that last question?
Zap wanted to know, how do you become this type of practitioner? Terry wanted to know, back in the 60s, why is it only coming out now? David wanted to know if you're a doctor. Charles wants to know, can one profile one's own self? James wants to know, are you taking volunteers for this on air?
Okay, sorry, Terry, that was with the 60s. Yes, it has been out. There is about 3.9 million or people around the world that have done this. It is around the world. Wow. We can, it's amazing. And so it's not just coming out now, it's just that you are just hearing it for the first time.
About it now. Yes.
So it's been around. No, I'm not a doctor. I don't think I would be very good, because I'm no good when I see blood, especially if it's mine. But we do have medical in the family. But I do I've always been very interested in the brain and how we think, why we think the way we do.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. And when we do the questionnaire to do the actual profile, is that there is a section in there that actually puts your brain under pressure. Now, your brain doesn't know what puts it under pressure. It just knows it's under pressure. And that's how they're able to develop, to work out as to where your thinking goes. When someone sees their profile, once they have done it, they go, oh, my goodness, it's amazing. So a little example is that when you're driving somewhere and you know roughly where you've got to go, and you're in your mind and you're thinking, oh, I think I've got to go here, I think I've got to go there. But then when you see it in the map, you go, it makes it really clear. That's what I do with your thinking. So we map out your thinking, and when you see it in hard form in front of you, you go, oh my goodness, because we are visual people. We need to see things visually. And so that's what they've done. They've developed it to make it so much easier.
So, Kerry, James wants to know, are we taking volunteers for this live on air? Well, you and I hadn't actually talked about that. So, James, I think Kerry and I might have another discussion about this off air, and we might be able to do that with some of our listeners. So watch this space. Kerry, Leonard wants to know, how can this profile help people?
Okay, this can help you in yourself understand how you think and why you think the way you do. In turn, it will help you to have conversations with anyone at any time on any subject, because you understand the thinking processes, and by when you start talking to people, you will automatically go, they're this person or there's that person. Yeah. So on an example, when I was a representative for the company that we did this with, there was one dairy manager that I found it really, really hard to get along with. I'd go in and go, good morning, how are you, and chat along. Once we did this, I went, oh my goodness, he's analytical, because he would just put his head down, keep working and go, and I thought, he's this. So next time I saw him, which was about 18 months later, I walked up and said, John, I need up and go in the corner, such and such a time, and I need 9 pallets. He just went, done. That was all the conversation. I left out the fluffy stuff, which is our emotional side. I left out the creative. I just went point to point, because analytical people just like facts and figures. Or that from then on, that was always our conversation. I never said good morning. I never said goodbye. I never said thank you. We just were very blunt, and he was one of my best dairy managers after that.
Fantastic. So in answer to Missy's question, Missy says, you're saying we can see our way of thinking from using this tool. And that's correct, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Because when you have it done professionally, and when I present it and do it for you, because it's through Herman, they do all my printing and everything for you, you get a full profile. You get a bear or a brain in the colour that you, in the quadrant that you are least thinking about that helps you. We have a mini flip chart. There's a lot of things that I throw in. So the total value of having this is $532. So we
again, Australian dollars.
So we can actually do something, Toni, later that we can present that we could give a bit of a discount, because I have to pay X amount for all the printing and paying. That. Yeah. So later on we can discuss that after, and we might be able to do something for your listeners.
Excellent, because Kerry will be working with me as my sponsor for a number of months going forward and into 2020. So we have lots of room where we can offer things to our listeners because we're partnered together. I've put Kerry's website at the top of the chat box. It's called brainthinking.com.au. And Renee wants to know, do any people have more than one way of thinking? What a great question, Renee.
No, because your thinking is your thinking. So in a partial way, maybe a little bit yes, only because your thinking will change when you're under pressure. Yes. So you'll technically have your main thinking, which is how you'll think every day. Then when you're under pressure, then it will change slightly. Sometimes it does change quite dramatically. So with my profile, I'm okay creatively, but when I'm under pressure, my creativity drops to next to nothing, and I go highly into the organisation. So my late husband understood this quite well, but not knowing it at the time. And he'd say, "You're going to get angry lately soon?" And I went, "Why?" He said, "The cupboards need cleaning." So some people, we can often see it in others, but we often don't see it in ourselves. And the other thing is, I often get asked is, what's the perfect profile? There actually is no perfect profile. The perfect profile is yours. Your thinking is you. So by understanding you, yours is perfect, because you are now going to elaborate on it and you are going to be able to work with it and understand you. It's a way to empower you. And the other thing is that, you know, when you go to conferences or you go to meetings and at work, there are some people that you just don't connect with, but others you just connect with straight away. And this comes down to a lot about personality and a lot about thinking. And so with that, you will actually be able to go and speak to those that you normally wouldn't get on with, and to be able to have a good conversation because you understand the thinking styles.
Yeah. I've got a great comment from James, but before I read that, Scott wants to know, how long does it take to get your own profile?
Okay, so the longest, the shortest is usually around a couple of weeks. So I send you a link. You will fill out the questionnaire.
Yes.
Then I will get a automatic thing from Herman letting me know that you've completed it. They will print it all, and if you are living away from me, we'll have it sent to you.
Yes.
And
which means you in America, that's no problem.
Yep, not a problem. So with Toni, we're going to be sending it to her. She's not allowed to open it, or you won't be allowed to open it until we are on Skype, and then we will undeliver it or unwrap it together. So with that, you get to understand where it is, and I'm on tap for you anytime. You can ring me, you can have a look, but most people, does it
take you like an hour to fill out the questions?
No, usually around about 20 minutes and 30 minutes on average.
20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, between
20 minutes, half an hour, Scott, to answer the questionnaire.
So the other thing is that when doing it, the first thing, your first initial thought is the correct one. Don't
think about it, just do it.
No, just do it, because that is your correct thinking pattern.
Zap wants to know, how long did it take you to study to be a practitioner? How long was your course?
The study to practitioner, because I had already been using it for many years, to become a practitioner, it was a full-on 3-day course.
Okay. But that's not really that long if you compare it to a degree or something.
No, it's not. It's a massive, intensive. It'll cost you thousands of dollars to do it.
Yes.
But it's full on. It's full on. But what it does is that there is ongoing training all the time. We have meetings, professional development days. Yes. There is our own web things. There's resources. There is everything. We have Herman has a sales manager that I see if I need to see anyone or do anything. They're there. So it's an ongoing thing. But to do the initial training is 3 days, and then it's just continue on from there that you grow in yourself.
That's really quite a lot of value. James is just saying, use your show engineer as a test subject, would you? We've been trying to find out more about her, but she don't say much. So our lovely Rebel, who is just one of the biggest blessings in my life as a host, she makes everything run perfectly, and I just love her. And yes, she's a very private person, so I'm not sure that we'd have much success in getting Rebel to do this for us, but we can try. Zap wants to know, is that for everyone who wants to take the study? How much are we talking in price to do this study? Can we do it from anywhere? Great question, Zap. Off you go, Kerry.
Yes, we can. It is for anyone. We usually say until you've finished school and you've had a year or two out in the workforce.
Yes.
That is the best time. It is for anyone. We can do either individuals, couples, businesses, or corporate companies. It can go from anyone. And what was the rest of the question?
How much are we talking in price to do the study, and can we do it from anywhere?
Yes, you can do it from anywhere, and it is normally $532. But for your listeners today, if they want to do that and they want to do it, we will take off $100 and make it $432. The other thing is that you don't have to pay it out straight away. Mm-hmm. We do a payment plan, and it makes it easy.
So, guys, the link for Kerry's company, if you want to ask questions, and her email address, I'm going to pop it into the chat box just again so that you can email Kerry and ask her anything that you need to about using the tool or doing the course itself. And we're supposed to go to a break, but I'm just going to keep Kerry for 5 more minutes, Rebel. We'll cut into the next segment, that's fine, but I just wanted to make sure that our listeners had all their questions answered before I let Kerry go off air. So basically there's 4 components to how our brain thinks, and we will either be analytical, and what are the other 3, Kerry?
Organised.
Analytical, organised.
Feeling, which is the emotional side, and creative.
And creative. So those are the 4 sides or components of our brain and how we think.
Thinking styles. And so your analytical and organised is usually your left brain, and your is the left side, and then you've got your right side is usually your feeling and creative side. Most CEOs will all have the creative side in them because they're visionaries. They will see the future and see how it's going. So, for instance, Richard Branson is highly creative. So when someone is like that, he goes to the analytical and he said, I've got this idea. You find the money.
Yes.
Goes to the organised. You organise it to happen. Goes to the creative, to the emotional, which is usually your salespeople. You sell it, and then we're going to put it together. And so that's how the companies work. So by having the right people, years ago, when companies tend to create the same as them, so whoever was employing or doing the interviewing process, they would tend to interview and hire the same thinking as them, but not realising it. So then a lot of companies were weak in one area. As we've grown over the years, we've realised that we can't have all the same as us, otherwise the business will fail. And that's what's happened. And that's why this is so brilliant for an individual or a sole trader or a small business, so that you can work it out. And I've got heaps of case studies to show you that I've done myself. And one particular woman, she had 2 businesses and failed. The third one was going down the gurgler, and she, someone said, you've got to go and see Carrie. We did this, and she went, oh, my goodness, now I understand why they've failed. Okay. She turned that around, but she's also highly creative. So she said, I had this idea, and I said, well, why don't you run with it? So she has an autistic grandchild, and she's a draftsman and architect, and she's wanted to go into helping to be able to design homes for autism and autism children. So because it is different how they work. She has now got enabling spaces. She's off to Memphis at the end of this month to speak. And her business has just gone great guns because she now understands why her business has failed, because she was in her under pressure area, and now she knows how to work that. And she's
okay. Yeah. So I've got some more questions from Zap. Zap is absolutely intrigued with this. So Zap, just to clarify, there's 2 portions to what we're talking about today. One is the study that Kerry has done to be a practitioner. That's the 3-day intensive course that leaves you with the certificates and the help to do it. And that, I understand, is a number of thousands of dollars. And the second component is the tool that Kerry helps you go through that gives you how your brain thinks and helps you communicate in a better way. Am I describing that correctly, Kerry, for Zap?
Yes. So you can either, I'm a practitioner, which means that I can do a profile on anyone, anywhere in the world, or you can, a person come to me and you can have your profile done. So if you wanted to develop and become a practitioner, absolutely contact me on my website. Kerry can help you that, yes. Yes, and then I can put him in touch with our salesperson, and then he can attend and do the practitioner course, and then he can become a practitioner.
There you go, Zap.
Doing so, yeah.
Willow wants to know: will this profile help someone get out of their own way? Oh, I think so, Kerry. Don't you?
Yes, it does. But it's like anything. It's a tool. If you put your effort into it, it will work for you. If you don't, it won't. So it's one of these things is that once you understand your thinking, 99% of people will all change the way they think and the way they make their decisions. And that's the main thing. It's brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, Kerry, I'm just delighted to have had you on the show this morning. We've gone a little bit over our segment, but that's fine. We'll rearrange something. Just so our listeners know, Kerry is going to be on my show regularly. So whatever questions you didn't get answered fully today, we can answer in the upcoming weeks. I've also put her website and her email address in the chat box, so please get in touch with Kerry. She would love to answer your questions and help you be involved in getting your own profile and working out how your own brain works. So we're quickly going to pop on to a break. When I come back, I'm going to talk to you briefly about my show sponsor, Tracy, and then we have the delightful Yogita, who's going to tell us all about her upcoming retreat. Thanks, Kerry. Over to you, Rebel. And welcome back to Radio Toni. Just a quick word about my other sponsor, Tracy Tully. Tracy is a speaker, mentor, author, and a 2-time whistleblower in the education system in Australia. She travels around Australia and internationally and speaks on the national, state, regional and local levels, and has done that for over 40 years. Under the banner of her .com brand, she says, I can show you how to find the sweet spot in everything you do. She is a motivation percolator, wordsmith and distiller of fear. Tracy creates influential speakers all over the world by helping people unlock their voice to lift their profile, prestige and profit. She teaches how to overcome fear of public speaking through motivation and resilience. And she works everywhere and anywhere all over the world. You can book her for a one-on-one session to find out more about mastering your fear of public speaking, and I will put up Tracy's website in a moment. Now, she likes to say that life is like a box of chocolates. Each sweet delicacy is a goal enticing you to keep moving forward. In every box, there will be 1 or 2 chocolates you just don't like. I'll show you how to find the sweet spot in everything you think of and do. Most of the battle is achieving the right mindset. So Tracy has a number of upcoming workshops coming to places in Australia. And again, I will put up her website and her details when I have a moment. But we have online today the wonderful Yogita Ridgley. And Yogita is a solo traveller, and her website is called Travelling with Me, Myself and I. And she's a successful businesswoman, CEO and founder of Travelling with Me, Myself and I. She wears a few different hats, a solo travel specialist. She's a mindset coach, an award-winning international speaker, an author and blogger with over a decade of solo travelling experience. Yogita started in the corporate world as an accountant after finishing her degree in accounting and economics. She then adventured into her own retail business with her husband. Yogita loves trying different things, and she is not scared to take a risk. She says, after selling her retail businesses in New Zealand, Yogita came to live in Australia with her young family. She bought a hotel business where she was the CEO and general manager for 10 years. Having worked in leadership roles, accounting, management, marketing and sales in Australia and New Zealand, Yogita has an outstanding knowledge of business and human behaviour. She's a firm believer in that knowledge is powerful and important for growth. And Yogita's passion lies in how the human mind works, and she's certified coach of neuro-linguistic programming, which we'll talk about in a minute. You might have heard NLP before, so we'll ask Yogita all about that. Now Yogita's business is helping women to discover their full potential, true beauty and authentic self. Her motto is solo travel to self-discovery. She runs one-on-one coaching, workshops, retreats and speaks at events when she's not traveling to the unknown. So hello, Yogita.
Hello, Toni. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. It's been a jam-packed show and we've had lots of input from our amazing listeners today. So let's talk about your upcoming retreat.
Yes, it's going to be on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of November on the Sunshine Coast in Australia, and I am super excited. The 3 days will be jam-packed with beautiful women learning how to have their mind, body, heart, and soul connection aligned, so they can attract the energy they really want to, unlock and tap into that potential of, having their dreams and living their lives the way they want to. So it's just going to be amazing 3 days for sure.
So the whole retreat is about self-discovery, isn't it, Yogita?
That's correct, yes. So the self-discovery is all about who you are, and everything you are starts with your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul. So it is a process that is ongoing. It's not just something that you can just learn in 5 days or 3 days and you're good for life. But for that first step into something like this is amazing, to spend 3 days to learn how you can actually start this process. For me, myself, I had to do this to unlock my potential, because for a very long time I labeled my potential as my weakness. Like now when I've shifted that from my weakness to my gift, and when I say this, I'm talking about I actually have a dyslexia as a problem. So spelling, reading, writing was not something that I was born to do. But for 30 years of my life, I defined that as my weakness. And then the more I got to learn who I am, the more I connected with my mind, my body, my heart, and my soul, I found that this is actually not a weakness. It's a gift in disguise that I need to unlock and tap into this whole way my brain is wired, with this genius ability to create and help and nurture people. So once I found that, I just went like, okay, I need to now pass this to everybody who needs my help. So the retreat's the biggest way to, spend time with me, where we, really tap into each person at a time, even though it's not one-to-one kind of coaching, but I keep the numbers small, so we have very intimate connection. We get to really know you, you get to really know me, and in that time you get to know yourself, which is the most important part. That's what the retreat's all about, learning the genius you are and the gift that you have, that right through our lives the society tells us, the conditioning happens, and teachers tell us, and the boss tells you, and then the husband's children, everybody else tells you are something, except for what you tell yourself you are. That's where, when I found my space where I went like, okay, I need to do this without anybody else telling me who I am. That's where the solo traveling part came along, where I had to, at first I had to run away from my life to find me, which makes no sense, but that's how it went. And now I see how that actually helped me so much, that I had the space for myself. I had the time for myself. I had no other chores or responsibilities or demands of me. The only thing I had to do is like literally love myself, accept myself, know myself, and that love, when I talk about self-love, I'm going deeper than self-love on the outside. This is the self-love on the inside, the part that, you already have that genius inside. So once you find that it is unshakable and unbreakable, like nothing from the outside world can take that away from you.
And
so that's
really,
where the power comes in.
Yogita, tell our listeners why it's important to discover self-love. Why is it important to bring that into your life?
It's a really good question. The reason why it's so important is because when you have that self-love, you're not defined with anything on the outside. When I say anything on the outside, I'm actually talking about everything to do with your partner or your family or your job or your weight or your income. All those things are not defining you. So what happens is, say, for example, you're a happily married woman, you have a great job, and in split second, you are now divorced. That breaks you into pieces. But if you have got self-love and that unshakable belief in yourself and your being is not defined by your partner or your marriage, of course it's going to hurt because your marriage has ended, but it's not going to break you. It's not going to make you go in depression and play the role of a victim because you have self-love. You don't need that person to make you complete. You're complete on your own. Within yourself. So there's like this beautiful saying that I live by, and I really believe this, that it's not that you're not entitled to have anything, or you're not entitled to have things that you love, but all those things that you own shouldn't own you. It's like one of those beautiful sayings that once you get this, that everything that you have is just to complement your lifestyle. It shouldn't own who you are. I work with quite a lot of women who have been through divorce, that have been through abuse, that have lost their jobs, that have attracted really bad relationships, and they've been through trauma where they've lost a loved one. One beautiful lady that I work with lost her son, to overdose. And these things are horrible pain to go through. Once you encounter them, even though a lot of times we actually say to ourselves that time will heal this. In time it hurts less, but it doesn't heal. What happens is our conscious mind takes over, and we start clouding it with all sorts of other things. In simple terms, they are addiction to overcome this pain. So you constantly keeping yourself busy, whether it's like, some people go into alcohol, some people go into drugs, gambling, sex, whatever it is that you're disguising your pain with. It's causing more pain because now you're on a different level of energy where you are actually producing a lot of guilt, hurt, fear, and then so it's like a fast slide down to depression hole. And then that leads to all sorts of terminal illness and so forth and so forth. So the best way to avoid all of these things is actually create a life that you actually want for yourself, and then you attract everybody in your space. That energy, you bring them up. So your energy level's high, you're bringing everybody else's energy level high. So instead of going from guilt, hurt, anger, shame, all of that, your energy is at the space of love, passion, gratitude. So, you when you have that energy, you attract that energy as well. So it kind of like gets it's like a viral situation. All your children are having the same effect, and your husband's got the same effect. Your workmates have got the same effect. So it's like bringing everybody up to your level of energy
rather
instead
than
of going
them bringing
down.
you down.
That's correct. Yeah. So if you don't have that self-love within you, your energy level's not going to be high. You're going to be easily sucked in with everybody else's toxic, negativity around you all the time.
And it also, it makes you vulnerable to people that would treat you badly, speak to you inappropriately.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And this is one of the lessons I learned, was that as soon as I had a good relationship with myself, every other relationship on the outside of me became beautiful. Yes. So it was a mirror effect. Like, I had better relationship with people I work with. I had better relationship with my husband. I had better relationship with my children and, my friends. So it's... Before, when I was relating to my weakness, I was so ashamed to share the fact that I actually have a problem. Everything I saw in me was a shame and wrong and negative. So when I looked at other people, I saw the same things.
Yeah.
And so now I see someone else, doesn't matter who it is, I only see the beauty in them because I only see the beauty in me. So that's the reflection of how you feel. And, for me, the longest relationship I will have with anybody is myself. And that relationship, I would like to have a really, happy, emotionally satisfying and full of love. So there is no such thing as, like, when I look in the mirror and go, oh, girl, you're fat, I look in the mirror and I go, oh, I love you. So, it's a big shift, and it takes time. It takes time. And when I meet beautiful women, they're just defining themselves with very, very, negative emotions. Yeah. Because they don't see themselves through their eyes. They see themselves through everybody else's eyes, the society. And society can be very rude and very cruel. And so, I believe in the fact that if you have very good relationship with yourself, like strong inner self-love, everything else on the outside just literally falls into place exactly the way you want it. Yeah. And same applies for relationships. I work with quite a lot of single moms who literally say to me that all the good men are taken, and it's like, where do you find one? It's like, honey, you just have to love yourself and you'll attract the one who will love. One. That's right. And there's, throw away the list of, tall, dark, handsome. Yeah. You just be that tall, dark, and everything else will just attract you exactly the way you want it. Yeah. And same goes for work as well. A lot of businesswomen I meet, businessmen as well. Yeah. And they all say, I work so hard and I'm constantly, running, chasing, hassling, everything else that, the modern technology says you should do, the modern society says that we want. They're all doing that. But at the end of the day, all you have to do is know exactly what you want and exactly how you're going to help people. And it just fixes all the problem of hassling. You don't have to hassle because you attract them. You just attract them, so save all that energy, enjoy life instead of chasing people, running around for something that's not, that's not supposed to be yours anyway. Yeah. And just relax and enjoy it. And that's what we will be teaching at the retreat because, it's most of these things are general knowledge and people go, oh, I already know that information. Yeah. Then why don't you use it? Mm-hmm. And that's where the conscious mind and subconscious mind conflicts because you're always operating from the conscious level. Yes. We are just programmed that way. We are not sitting still long enough to tap into our subconscious genius, Yeah. So at that retreat, you learn that you learn the simple tools on each thing, how the mind works, how the body works, and how the heart works, and how the soul works. And normally when I say soul, a lot of people get very conflicted with this, soul or spirituality or awareness or consciousness, whatever you want to call it.
It's all the same thing.
It's all the same thing, but it's very powerful word. It makes or breaks a person. And you need to know how you can make that your best friend, make your body your best friend, make your mind your best friend, and without making them work for you. Because right now, if you don't have the life you want, all these things are working against you. They're not working for you. So that's the biggest difference in how you are going to be able to connect them. And with these retreats, I learned how to connect them. And then I've been on this journey for 10 years. And the best thing I ever did for myself was to, tell myself that I deserve more and allow myself to have more. Because a lot of us, especially moms, we create all these excuses that, we're a mom, we can't leave our children behind, we can't spend money on us, on moms. But you can spend money on, lots of alcohol or lots of food that's, wasted, and all those things that when you really think about it, a lot of things are wasted for no good reason when it could be spent on you. All you have to do is just allow yourself and tell yourself that you deserve this. And this is, if you are a person that has got like unbreakable and unshakable love for yourself, you're going to be an amazing mother. Imagine the kind of children you're going to be raising. I kind of at first thought I've lost the boat. I'm not a good mom. And I know I wasn't, because what I was teaching my children is to hustle and make as much money as possible and push, and you have to have A's in school and this and that and the other. And my children were struggling. And now the shift in me, they allowed to be themselves because I allowed myself to be me. And those girls feel free to do whatever they want. And they reminded me the fact that their lives are theirs for them to live, not for me to control it. And mine is for me to live, not for me to hide behind walls and not be ashamed of.
Or have your children as the sole focus of your life.
Yeah, exactly. You have to live for yourself.
Yogita, I've got some questions coming in, and I'm conscious that I don't want to run out of time and not answer all the questions.
Sure, absolutely.
Renee wants to know your upcoming retreat. It's in Queensland, Australia. And the other thing I want to mention in saying that you do retreats at other places as well, don't you, Yogita?
That's correct, yes. So there will be one in Australia, which is coming up in November. And then there will be one in India, which I will be putting all the details on my website. And then I will be hosting a few more through 2020 and 21 across New Zealand, Italy, and India again, and Australia again. So, yeah.
And just so our listeners know that Yogita, and if you pop onto her website, you can see details of all her retreats, but Yogita can help you with your arrangements like flights and other accommodations
and tours and everything. So last year when we did the India India tour, the girls did 5 days at the retreat, and then we added the tour of extra things to see around New Delhi, and we went to the Taj Mahal, which was beautiful. And so you don't have to fly together, but I can book all your flights, I can book your accommodations, I can book your tours, insurances, and everything else, also advice on immunizations and so forth as well. So so you can, it's kind of like one pack and hassle free for whoever wants to come along.
It's specifically designed for people who want to travel or need to travel by themselves.
That's correct. So even though if you are traveling in the group situation, like you're traveling together with me, you will still be very much on your own. And that is done on purpose, because the whole journey is all about you getting in tune with your intuition, listening to your gut feelings, listening to your thought process, and learning to love your own company. So what I do is especially the ones who, some beautiful ladies that have never done this before and they are a bit reluctant. So I hold hands in some places, and then I let them go knowing that I'm there if they need me, so they feel quite comfortable.
Yeah.
So it is a good stepping stone. And then once they've done a couple of tours with me or one retreat with me, they're ready to fly on their own.
Yeah.
And some of them have been doing it one lady I had, she did one retreat and one tour, and now last year she's had single tours that she did all on her own, solo traveling about 5 different countries.
Fantastic.
So I know, it is amazing to see your baby grow and fly away.
Yeah.
Yogita, amazing.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We've got just 3 more questions I want to try and get. So Jay says, what levels of energy are there? Mark says, why do women have that thought process? And Ivy says, why don't we teach this to ourselves?
Yeah, good question. Why don't we teach this ourselves? It is because I think the society we live in, it's conditioned that we don't put ourselves first because it's classed as selfish. But the selfish person comes from a place of fear. Self-love comes from a place of love and passion. So that's the difference between why don't we teach that. So from day go, I think that's why I am doing this, is because I think we need to change this. I want to teach my children and then my grandchildren, and from there on, it needs to be a viral thing that everybody needs to know how to do self-love. And I think it will create a better world for sure. Yeah. Why do women don't spend time and money on themselves? Was that one of the questions?
Yeah. Mark wanted to know, why do women have this thought process? Why don't we look after ourselves?
Yeah, women are nurturers. We are born with that nurturing ability. One of the worst things we do is we give till we get to a place where burnt out and exhausted. And then when we get to that stage, we start blaming everybody who we're giving it to. So that's where relationships break up. That's where you lose your children to drugs and everything else. And because, in hindsight, it's a toxic relationship. Even though you love your children to bits, it's a toxic relationship. You are not born on this planet to control your children or control anybody for that matter. You are only in control of your own being. So I think it is now up to women to take that responsibility, that if they're better moms, they're better me, then you're better everything else. Yes, you're a better wife, you're better mother, you're better daughter, you're better boss or owner or worker. So it all starts with you.
Yeah.
And sorry, what was the other question?
Jace wants to know, what levels of energy are there?
Okay, so the lowest state of energy is guilt and shame. That if you are in that energy, you are constantly dragging your feet, and everything you do tends to fall apart because you are you need to let that go for you to free yourself. If you can imagine both of your shoulders with 20 kgs on each side, how heavy is that to carry? And you're doing that on a constant basis. You're doing that every day, in and out, without even knowing it, because it comes from somewhere you have either, I had the shame. And the shame was not because I had done something wrong or someone has done something wrong. I was just born with dyslexia. It was nothing that anybody did. It was nobody's fault. But I was so embarrassed because when I started school, people were laughing at me. And teachers told me I was stupid and not good enough. I will not amount to anything. So I just started hiding that information, that I was so shameful that I couldn't spell when everybody could spell. The kid who couldn't walk properly could spell, So I was comparing myself with these different social images and social conditioning.
And
to
that's
this
the
point.
lowest level of
That's the lowest
energy
level.
there is.
Yeah, and then the highest level of energy is literally gratitude.
Yes.
So when you get to gratitude and love, you do things for people without expecting anything in return. And
Yes.
when you get to that level, you are literally flying with happiness and like joy, and people are attracted to you, and good things just come to you. You don't even have to look for it or ask for it.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot in the middle, but we'll have to have another session on that.
We are out of time, and I promised to bring Yogita back onto the show, everyone, so we might actually have a lovely conversation about energy levels. We are out of time, and Rebel is reminding me that we're out of time. Thank you, my amazing listeners. Thank you to my fabulous guest. It's been a wonderful show, and I look forward to talking to you all next week. Bye, everyone.